77-year-old Patrick Waite is behind bars after killing his wife, mother-in-law and stepson, and critically injuring another. At around 8:30 p.m. on Thursday the 29th of May, authorities responded to a home at 12917 South Scottsdale Drive in Helbstad, Indiana on reports of a shooting. Patrick called 911 to say he shot 4 people in the home and that he'll be waiting for them in the front of his garage. He then told the dispatcher that he'll cut the conversation short so he could call his children and tell them what he did. When officers arrived on scene, they immediately detained Patrick, who told them where he left the gun used in the killings. Officers rushed inside and found the first victim, Patrick's 61-year-old wife Alma Waite, dead in the kitchen. They moved to the den where they located 3 other victims, Alma's 2 sons and an 81-year-old mother, Gloria Garcia Tapia, who was shot to death in a medical bed. One of her sons, 44-year-old Juan Ramirez, survived gunshot wounds to the neck and chest, while the other 39-year-old Fernanda Tapia Ramirez died. Authorities said that a child witnessed the shooting before fleeing to safety in an upstairs bathroom with 2 other family members. Police located spent shell casings throughout the den and kitchen, and the gun on top of a lawnmower in the garage. After receiving his Miranda rights, Patrick explained that he'd been married to his wife for about 2 years and had been talking about separating, although he did not want a divorce. He said he shot a water snake on the back of the property and came back inside with a gun in his back pocket. He stated that his wife was mad at him because he left to go to Bible study instead of staying home with his mother-in-law. He was in need of a caregiver. She said that she was also not happy that he brought the gun into the house and told him that he needed to leave. Patrick had purchased the home in 1998 with his then-wife Nancy Waite. He passed away in 2019. At that point, Patrick became the sole owner of the home. After his marriage to Alma, she became the sole owner, and then on the 27th of March, she added her daughter's name to the deed. Patrick questioned his wife about the paperwork she was holding. He said his wife told him she filed a quitclaim deed that put the home solely in her daughter's name when he got angry, and told her that he wasn't going to move from the home in which he lived for 27 years. He told investigators that their argument went from the afternoon into the evening. He said that when Alma turned toward him from the kitchen sink while they were arguing over the home, he shot her. He then heard her sons in the den and shot them too. It's unclear if he meant to shoot Gloria, but she was shot while lying in a medical bed in the den. Patrick told detectives that he didn't deserve to live after what he did. "I shot them all, and I'm certainly not proud of that fact at all. I'm as guilty can be," he said. Patrick's charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. He remains held at the Gibson County Jail without bond. 21-year-old Jackson Julian Sagesse is behind bars for killing 27-year-old Hailey Hosford and severely injuring her friend. The incident occurred at around 1:40 a.m. on Wednesday the 28th of May at the Retreat at Sawgrass Village Complex parking garage located at 3002 Northwest 130th Avenue in Sunrise, Florida. Surveillance footage showed Jackson approaching a black Mercedes-Benz sedan and stabbing a woman who was sitting in the rear passenger seat after the driver, Ian Bryant, went inside the building. Sunrise police said that Hailey initially opened the door before spotting Jackson. He came back around the car from the driver's side when she tried to quickly close it in an attempt to shield herself from him. Jackson grabbed the door, forcing it open, and then a repeated stabbing motion was visible on video. As Ian returned to the parking garage, Jackson then got into a violent confrontation with him and stabbed him in the throat. Ian then ran away as Jackson chased after him, but he was able to get away and call 911. Jackson then attempted to flee in the victim's vehicle, but was unsuccessful. He got out of the car and appeared to search the ground for potential evidence before eventually leaving the garage. A responding officer arrived and spotted the victim in front of the complex with a puncture wound to his throat. Despite his injuries, he was able to speak with officers and told them that someone had stabbed him in the apartment complex's parking garage and then fled on foot. He described the suspect as a heavy-set black male with an afro. He told police that his friend Hailey had also been stabbed and was still inside his rented vehicle in the parking garage. Ian was hospitalized and underwent a tracheostomy and remains in the intensive care unit. Police approached the car on the first floor of the parking garage and found the woman unresponsive on the floorboard of the back seat. She had multiple visible stab wounds to her neck and throat and was pronounced dead at the scene. A knife that appeared to be part of a set of steak knives was also found on the front passenger seat of the vehicle. After speaking to witnesses and reviewing surveillance footage, authorities located and arrested Jackson at an apartment a few doors away, where he lives with his mother, and a steak knife was found in his right front pocket. He reportedly told officers, "I just killed someone and walked away," but claimed he was murdering for self-defense. Jackson said he was inside the parking garage to cross over to another building where he uses a gym and saw the victim's car with its lights on and thought he should call police. He claimed that he didn't have a phone on him, so went back to his apartment to get his phone and a knife for personal protection. Jackson said he stabbed Hailey multiple times, aiming for vital parts, and estimated that he stabbed her about 10 times. The medical examiner found at least 5 stab wounds to the neck and throat area. Jackson also said he stabbed Ian, but didn't know how severely he was injured because he ran away. While Jackson claimed self-defense multiple times, he could not detail any possible threats from the victims. He's charged with first-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder, and he remains held at the Braidwood County Jail without bond. 21-year-old Demonte Swann is behind bars for fatally shooting 46-year-old Robert Lewis Harris. On Saturday, the 31st of May, authorities responded to the 4000 block of Hanging Moss Road in Jackson, Mississippi on reports of a shooting. When officers arrived, they found Robert deceased with multiple gunshot wounds right outside of Josephine's kitchen. During the investigation, authorities identified Demonte as a shooting suspect. Authorities said that Demonte and Robert were both inside the Shell gas station next door purchasing items. When Robert left the store, Demonte came out and ran after him. Officials said that there was some type of altercation, and the suspect pulled out a gun and shot Robert. Demonte was arrested and charged with murder, and remains held at the Hinds County Jail. 40-year-old William Anthony Millan is behind bars for strangling his 40-year-old wife Tiffany Millan. On the morning of the 27th of May, authorities responded to a residence in Boca Raton, Florida in reference to a domestic battery. When officers arrived, they met with Tiffany outside the premises, who advised them that she and her husband William got into a physical altercation that morning. She said that around 4 a.m. she was awoken to William choking her, causing her not to be able to breathe for a couple of seconds, after William discovered text messages on her phone from another man. Tiffany was crying and said she was worried that William would hurt her even more if she didn't report this incident. She said that the same thing happened 2 days earlier, but she was too scared to report it. Tiffany said that William also locked her out of the house and refused to give her the keys to the car so she could go to work. Officers observed red marks around her neck and to the side of her face, where she was also hit by William. Pictures were taken of her injuries as evidence. The officers tried to communicate with William, who stated that he was too upset to come outside and would only talk through his sliding glass door. He advised police that he found out that Tiffany was cheating and wanted to teach her a lesson. He said he took the keys to the car and refused to let her have them so she'll be late for work. When asked if he ever got physical, William stated that he only played loud music to let off some steam and denied ever putting his hands on Tiffany. The officers observed no injuries to William and determined that he was the primary aggressor. He was arrested and charged with battery by strangulation, and he was booked into the Palm Beach County Jail on a $7,500 bond. A bus driver in Lynn Haven, Florida has been arrested for striking a juvenile. The incident occurred on the 13th of May while Stacy Halloran was driving her bus during afternoon drop-off for Bay District schools. She allegedly slapped a 12-year-old boy with an open hand on his right upper back, which left a mark on the child for more than 48 hours. The matter was reported to the Florida Department of Children and Families, where an investigation confirmed the allegations. Authorities said that security footage on the bus caught the act, and the slap could be heard in the footage 3 rows from the front of the bus. A warrant was then issued for Stacy's arrest. On the 1st of June, Stacy was arrested and booked into the Bay County Jail on a charge of cruelty toward a child without great bodily harm. She appeared in the Bay County Court and was released after posting a $25,000 bond. Superintendent Mark McQueen from the Bay District Schools released a statement stating, "The incident that occurred on the bus is both troubling and disappointing. It's difficult to imagine that an adult entrusted with the care of students would act in such a manner, but when situations like this arise, we have a responsibility to respond swiftly and appropriately." He added that Stacy has been removed from duty and that the district is following up personal procedures outlined in the employee contract. Stacy's next court date is scheduled for the 21st of July. 31-year-old Cole James Craig is behind bars for dragging a woman with his vehicle during a domestic dispute. At around 2 a.m. on Sunday the 1st of June, the female victim was with Cole at his home along Union Circle, near Union Church Road in Flowery Branch, Georgia, when the victim asked Craig to take her home, about 5 miles away near McKever Road. When they arrived at the victim's home, she got out of Craig's car and he dumped her purse on the floorboard of the vehicle. While the victim was picking up items from the purse, he drove off and she was left hanging out of the car. He dragged her for a short distance, with the woman ultimately climbing back into the car and closing the door. Craig continued driving erratically at high speeds, despite the woman asking him to let her out. She was able to get out and call 911 when he stopped at a red light in the area of Atlanta Highway and Waite Road in Beaufort, about 2 miles away from the woman's home. The victim suffered bruises to her arm and leg during the incident, but refused medical attention. At 3:45 a.m. that morning, Hull County deputies went to Cole's home and arrested him. He's charged with aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, DUI, battery under the Family Violence Act, and driving while license suspended. He remains held at the Hull County Jail without bond. 23-year-old Imani Easley is behind bars after she shot 2 women. The incident occurred at just after 6 p.m. on Saturday the 30th of May at Coneman Park in the 2600 block of Shannon Avenue in Jennings, Missouri. The victims were trying to break up a fight when Imani became enraged and pulled out a gun and shot one woman in the arm and the second woman in the chest. The second woman remains in a critical condition. The shooting was captured on Facebook video, and witnesses helped police identify the suspect. Imani reportedly confessed to the shooting after being read her Miranda rights. Imani's charged with 2 counts of first-degree assault, 2 counts of armed criminal action, and 1 count of unlawful use of a weapon. She remains held at the St. Louis County Jail on a $500,000 cash-only bond. Scott Tweten is behind bars following a domestic assault incident at a motel that left a woman with permanent injuries. On the 22nd of May, authorities responded to Motel 6 in Fargo, North Dakota on reports of a disturbance involving a man and a woman in one of the rooms. When officers arrived at the scene, they knocked on the door and could hear a woman yelling for help. The door was opened by Scott, and police quickly saw a woman lying on the floor. When asked what happened, the woman told police that she was numb from the neck down. She said that Scott had hurt her, but did not elaborate. She told police that she had consumed a lot of alcohol, and there were broken beer bottles in the box inside the room. Paramedics arrived on scene to assess the victim, who said her neck hurt and she couldn't feel the entire right side of her body. She did not give any details on what happened, other than to say "he hurt me." She was taken to hospital for further evaluation. When police went to visit the victim in hospital on the 24th of May, they found her in a bed with a neck brace, saying that she was in severe pain. She also said that she couldn't remember what happened that night, or the police being in the motel room. The victim's nurse told police she had a seatbelt burn near both of her armpits, as if she was wearing a backpack. The nurse said that the victim had a fractured C5 vertebrae and a spinal cord injury. It was later revealed that she also suffered an injury to her T1 vertebrae. Police went back to interview the victim on the 30th of May, where she said she and Scott were drinking, which upset her because they had relapsed from sobriety. She said she was leaving when she felt her neck break, as she was standing and then fell to the ground. She said that Scott was standing behind her when she felt and heard her bones break before falling to the ground, and that Scott was the only person in the room with her. She said then that she doesn't think that Scott intended to cause that much damage, but did want to hurt her for trying to leave. She noted that he had physically abused her in the past. A nurse who was taking care of the victim told police that she'll never be what she was before the injuries. She could regain some movement through physical therapy, but that is largely up to how hard the victim works to recover it. Scott was arrested and charged with aggravated assault, domestic violence, permanent loss or impairment, and remains held at the Cass County Jail. If convicted, he faces up to 10 years behind bars. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for the 16th of July. 18-year-old Koda Uebel is behind bars for beating an elderly relative and biting a peace officer. At 12:06 a.m. on Saturday the 31st of May, authorities responded to a residence in the 300 block of Lincoln Avenue in Big Rock, Illinois on reports of a domestic disturbance in progress. When deputies arrived, they saw Koda through a locked front door violently punching, slapping and kicking family member 71-year-old Deborah Uebel. Deputies also reported hearing the man threaten to kill the victim. The officers forced their way into the home, and as they attempted to help the woman, Koda attacked them. A taser was deployed, but Koda remained combative and bit one of the deputies. Koda was ultimately restrained and taken into custody. Deborah was taken to Delnor Hospital with a brain bleed and facial disfigurement. She remains hospitalized in a stable condition. Koda and the injured deputy were both treated at Delnor Hospital and medically cleared. The deputy was released the same night, while Koda was turned over to the custody of the Kane County Sheriff's Office. Koda is charged with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated domestic battery, strangulation, causing great bodily harm to a person 60 years or older, 2 counts of aggravated battery to a peace officer, resisting a peace officer, and possession consumption of alcohol by a minor.